This video covers everything we did today in 7th grade math on January 24th. Our first task was reviewing what we learned last week about multiplying positive and negative numbers. You can take these notes in ClassKick at the link that's posted above this video, so make sure you have ClassKick open now before you keep watching. We know that a positive times a positive is always going to equal a positive number. If we're multiplying a positive times a negative, our product will be negative. And the same thing goes for a negative times a positive. Regardless of the order of our multiplication, the product will always be negative. If we're multiplying a negative times a negative, our answer will be positive. These are helpful notes to get down in ClassKick and also something that you can save or take a picture of so you have them for later in the week. Now, in some situations, we might see a negative times a negative times a negative. And we can look at each piece of this expression separately. For example, if we multiply negative 2 times negative 3, we know that the answer, or the product, is positive 6, because we're multiplying a negative times a negative. Then, we still need to multiply times negative 4. And 6 times negative 4 is a positive times a negative, which would be equal to a negative 24. We're going to see more examples like this today. If you need to pause this video to get these notes, now is the time. Let's take a look at the learning target. I can solve problems that involve multiplying rational numbers. That includes multiplying positive numbers and multiplying negative numbers. On slide 3, you have an activity that asks you to match the expressions that are equal to each other and find their solution. It says, drag and drop the expressions into the table. Let me show you how it works. For example, let's say I looked at negative 1 times negative 3 times negative 4 first. I know that negative 1 times negative 3 is equal to a positive 3 because I'm multiplying a negative 1 times a negative 3. Then I'm multiplying positive 3 times negative 4. I know a positive times a negative is a negative. And so my solution is negative 12. Now I'm looking for other expressions that also have a solution of negative 12. Here's one example. I know that 2 times 6 is 12, and since I have one negative and one positive, that expression matches negative 1 times negative 3 times negative 4. I typed 12 in the solution box, and I'll be looking for my third expression. On slide 3 and slide 4, you want to end up with a complete table and each of these expressions dragged and dropped into the correct boxes. Please go ahead and pause this video to drag and drop the expressions into the correct boxes and solve. At the end of the day, I will post today's notes from class, and you'll be able to check and see whether or not you correctly dragged and dropped your expressions if you go into the main folder for today. The key will be there for you. The last thing you need to take care of if you were absent today is the practice questions on slide 5 and 6. There's no new material here. You're just practicing multiplying positive and negative numbers, negative times negative, and negative times positive. If you have any questions as you're working through these problems, please make sure you send me an email.